Welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to share with you my Rose Dragon deck profile, which was very hard to build, not gonna lie, so I hope you will appreciate it. But before I jump right into the video itself, I'm going to remind you that if you want to see more videos like this and you're new to the channel, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It's helped us a ton, and also you'll be able to see more videos like this if you enjoy these types of videos. Give a like if you enjoyed the video and find it very useful, and let me know in the comments down below, as usual, what do you think needs some change, or what do you run different, or if you have any particular questions, which I will be more than happy to hear you and answer. But with that out of the way, let's jump right into the video itself. Alright, so jumping right into the list itself, we're going to start things off obviously with the Rose Dragon engine, which I run triple copies of White Rose Dragon, triple copies of Rocks Rose Dragon, and then the double copies of Red Rose Dragon, which I think is a pretty standard lineup. Now, I'm going to say this right now, which is actually really important to understand, is that I actually think I want to bump this up to 3, because this card is a lot better than I give it credit for, with a lot of the additional cards that we have in our deck, so I might bump this up to 3. I'm not 100% sure about it, but if I do, I definitely, just will update this next time. I might cut this down to 2. I think Rocks Rose is really good, but I might just run 3, 3, and 3. I just not really have decided yet, because I think Red Rose Dragon is a lot better than you might think, because sometimes you actually want to draw into this card as your starting card. But what do all of these cards do? Well, in the case of Red Rose Dragon, is, like I said, is a very, very important card. It's probably the most specific card out of all of them, with its requirements for things to get the bonuses, but it's still a really good card. So basically, if this card is sent for the graveyard for a synchro material, you get to special summon one Rose Dragon directly from your deck, except itself, so you get to summon one of these two. And then on top of that, if you send to the graveyard to a synchro summon of Plant Synchro Monster, or specifically Black Rose Dragon, you also get to add to your deck to your hand, Frozen Rose, which is a one-off spell that we run. Now, this card, like I said, is really good just generally because of the fact that every single time that you use it for a Synchro Summon, it's still getting one of these directly from the deck, so that is really good. So that's why I'm kind of thinking of maybe bumping this up to 3 just to see it. But I'm not 100% sure about that. In the case of these two, Rocks Rose Dragon is basically a searcher for cards that have Black Rose Dragon in their text. So this one, plus a specific spell that you have in your deck, which we'll get to it when we'll get to it. And then when a Plant Synchro monster you control, or a Rose Dragon monster you control is destroyed by battle by the opponent card effect, you get him to basically add this card back to your hand, which doesn't really happen a whole lot, but if it does, you get a nice recovery, which is really cool. In a case of White Rose Dragon, this is a really good card. It has 3 effects, although I most of the time only use 2. The first effect says that when this card is normal summon, you get to special summon one Rose Dragon directly from your hand or graveyard, which is really nice, and it doesn't limit you on levels, so sometimes you can just normal summon this, summon a Black Rose Moonlight Dragon, or Rowdy Rose Dragon, or Black Rose Dragon the original, whatever specifically, you can just summon a Rose Dragon directly from your graveyard, which is really cool. Then, the 2 effects that you're mostly going to use is the effect that if you control a Dragon Tuner or a Plant Tuner, you get to special summon this card directly from your hand, and if this card is sent to graveyard as a synchro material, you get to send a level 4 or higher plant monster from your deck to the graveyard, which we have 2 targets for that. So unlike this one, its effect doesn't really depend, all of the benefits don't really depend on you specifically using this as a synchro material for a plant tuner, a plant synchro specifically, so that's why I like this card quite a lot. And I'm just going to say this right now, is that the first effect, I don't really use it that much because of the fact that they're hand traps, so people might going to throw an effect veiler on me turn 1, so that's why most of the time turn 1 you just use as an extender, and then turn, following turns as basically its own effect on normal summon, which is very, very powerful. But that does it for the Rose Dragons themselves. Then we'll move on into the rest of the plants, which are 3 copies of Orphis Scorpio, 1 copy of Darlingtonia Cobra, and then the 3 copies of Lawnfire Blossom. I don't really think I need to explain these. These are supposed to grab either Instant Fusion or Ready Fusion directly from your deck. You normal summon Orphis Scorpio, discard a card, special summon this, grab Ready Fusion or Instant Fusion, and this is 3 copies of every single plant in your deck. Now, one thing I would say specifically is that in this deck, you want to use this tribute effect once when you see this card. You don't really want to like go through all 3 of them, because in later turns, this can be additional 2 copies of your deck of what you want specifically. So unlike combo decks that only run these and these as your plants, you might want to leave these in your deck just to have the ability to grab the plant that you specifically need, and that's why I like 3 copies of Lawnfire Blossom. To, again, not just like, you know, go through them with tribute. And then, for the rest of the plants and extenders, we run 3 copies of Caliga Crow, 1 copy of Mardell, 1 copy of Caratway Champion, 1 copy of Rose Girl, sorry if I moved the camera a little bit, 1 copy of Rose Fairy, and then 1 copy of Spore. These are the last extenders that I run in my deck, or, you know, cards that are related to the deck. So Spore is just make 100% sense because it's a plant deck. It's pretty easy to get out from your deck with Hacky Firebracks and use its effect. Where Caratway Champion, same thing, it doesn't really need a whole lot of explanation. You use this card most of the time to discard this card from your hand. And then the rest of the 3 cards might need a little bit of explanation. Mardell is because of a particular card in your extra deck that can summon her back to the graveyard, and it's a level 4 or higher plant monsters that you said with White Rose Dragon, which is really cool. And then these 2 cards are also just particular extender that you can search either with Mardell or other cards that you have. Now, the only card that I would say out of these that is a dead card if you draw into it is Rose Fairy. The other ones, you could find a way to maybe discard them or use other things to just get them to the graveyard, so it's not really the end of the world. I would say that Caratway Champion sometimes is a problem, but if you open up with an Orphan Scorpio, you can discard it. This one is the only card that I would say is 100% useless if you draw into it. And then the last card is Caligula Crow, because this, if you control a dark, it's a free body. I wanted to also run the Dark Rose Fairy, but I felt like running 3 copies of this and just seeing this and not depending on special summoning a tuner just felt so much better, so that's why I decided to go with Caligula Crow. But that does it for your cards here, and then for the hint traps, I run 3 copies of Ash Blossom and 3 copies of Effect Veiler. I want to have tuner hand traps specifically because these could work sometimes specifically with Orphan Scorpio for some particular combos, so that's why I want to focus on tuner hand traps specifically and nothing else. Also, Ash Blossom is particularly useful for one of your particular combos that you summon with Hacky Firebracks sometimes from the deck, so do keep that in mind when you're playing with the deck. So these are hand traps, but can also be used as resources, which is really nice. But that does it for the monster lineup. Now we'll move on into the spells. And for the spells, we have double copies of Basil Rose Shoot, 1 copy of Frozen Rose, and 1 copy of Black Garden for your Rose Dragon related cards. Now, one thing that I forgot to mention is that I don't run the Rose Princess and, you know, the Rowdy Rose Witch engines and stuff like that because I felt they're a little bit too bricky, and that's why we don't have White Cloister, because it's not really the main focus of the deck. So Basil Rose Shoot is your in-archetype monster reborn for your Rose Dragon monsters, and then when it gets destroyed, you get a particular effect, but it doesn't really going to ever be destroyed by your opponent, so you don't really need to worry about that. And then we have Frozen Rose, which most of the time you're going to use it to tribute, or should I say, send to the graveyard a non-plant to get the effect to add a plant level 4 or lower from your deck to your hand, but in some particular combos or situations, you will send a plant to, during the end phase, draw 2, discard 1, but this is the card that you search with Red Rose Dragon, which is its own effect. And then Black Rose Dragon, Black Garden is searched by Garden Rose Maiden, which is a really nice card as a one-off, and it's also another combo piece, which is very, very important. But that does it for those, and then for the rest of the spells, free Ready Fusion, 1 Instant Fusion, 1 Foolish Barrel, 1 Monster Reborn, 1 Cold Bitter Grave for your last few spells. Now, Ready Fusion is not 100% necessary to run if you think that this card is too expensive. You can run just additional 3 extenders that you want to. The point is that I really, really want to see these because these are extenders that don't really depend on anything, and they're just easy free special summons that works really well. And I can use them to bring out a tuner or non-tuner if I need to for the particular situation, and they're searchable by Orphan Scorpio and Darnantuio Cobra, so that's why I run 3 copies of them. Now, if you don't want to, you can run other things as well, like I said, but I felt like this is just really, really good to have these 4 copies of Instant Fusion that can get you the extender that you need. Foolish Barrel is to Foolish Barrel's Spore or other cards that you need to. Monster Reborn is to get something specifically out of your graveyard, and Called by the Grave, if you draw into it, you basically have a less of a hard time dealing with hand traps, which is really, really cool. But that does it for the main deck. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward with the 40 cards. Now we'll move on to the extra deck. And for the extra deck, we're going to start things off with the Synchros first. We started with the smaller ones first. Formula Synchron, Garden Rose Flora, and the Garden Rose Maiden. This one is your Searcher for Black Garden and the one that revive your Rose Dragons from your graveyard by banishing itself, or your Dragon Synchros, which is really, really cool. Garden Rose Flora has an effect that she can pop some field spell to get a level 2 token, but mostly you just use her with Hacky Fibrax to summon directly from your extra deck, and then just use it in a level 4 to summon a Shenshin or something specific, so that's why it's really much here. And same goes with Formula Synchron. It's just the 2-level modulations that you need for specific plays that you need these two specifically. And that does it for those. And then for the rest, we have, for the level 7s, we have Empress of Blossoms, Black Rose Moonlight Dragon, and the original Black Rose Dragon. Depending on the situation, depending on your hand, depending on what you're specifically dealing with, you want to go to a specific different one of these. Black Rose Dragon is, sometimes you summon this with Red Rose Dragon, so, sometimes you don't go into this if you don't have a way to dump a level 4, or should I say a level 5 or higher plant monster, which this is pretty much what it's supposed to do. Either summon the Mordell from your hand, or summon one of your plants from the graveyard, which is really nice. That is level 5 or higher, if you need to. Black Rose Moonlight Dragon is an interruption, which is really nice. And then this is sometimes a combo piece, or a board wipe if you're able to sometimes summon it, depending on the situation. Again. And then for the last Synchros, for the 8s, we have Draco Berserker and Crystal Wing, which can be, Draco Berserker can be a second Crystal Wing or even a Savage, but I came up more and more to have a level 8 Synchro that is free, that doesn't really need a specific material, and Draco Berserker just came up to be the best one. You could technically run Chaos Dragon, but I did like the interruption of Berserker. Again, you can run a second Crystal Wing if you feel like it, but I just like Berserker, and because sometimes Savage is not good, because Savage have the problem that you're not always going to have a Link monster in the graveyard. That's why I decided to go with this. Then we have for our 9 the Shenshin, and then for our 10 we have the Rowdy Rose Dragon, which is part of the archetype, great monster to bring out sometimes out. And then the Proxied Baroness, which can be a Satellite Warrior if you don't have the money to, but I'm going to try to get my hands on a Baroness, so that's why we have a Baroness here. Now again, like I said, Baroness is expensive. If you don't have her, you don't have to run her. Satellite is a good option instead, but I really want to get my hand on a Baroness, because Baroness is just going to be imported for almost everything when it comes to Synchros, so that's why I think she is very, very important. If you have the ability to afford her, definitely try to get her, or try to find a way to get her if you want to try to play competitively. But that does it for the Synchros, and then for the rest of the extra deck we have Rare Fish, Sea Monster, Theseus for our Ready Fusion, Instant Fusion targets, and then Cross Sheep and Crystron Hacky Fibrax for our only Link monsters that you need. This is the only lineup that you need that is not Synchros, because you do need one that is non-tuner level 4 with your plays with Red Rose Dragon, and you need this to sometimes be a tuner to bring out the Hacky Fibrax. And Cross Sheep is basically, if you have the ability to bring these will give you the ability to sometimes, with the discard of Orpheus Scorpio, to get you the specific discard that you wanted to revive back when it's a level 4 or lower, and then just get a specific effect that you really, really want to, which is really, really cool. And then Crystal Hacky Fibrax is just Crystal Hacky Fibrax, doesn't really need any more explanation. But that does it for the deck profile, which I don't really know why this is on the top. This should be in the top. That does it for the deck profile and does it for the deck as a whole. Hope you enjoyed for this one. This is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. There are a lot to explain when it comes to the combos, which we're going to jump right into them. But like I said, I'm trying to make the deck as less as bricky as possible, so that's why I didn't run some of the engines that a lot of people like to run, because I felt they were bricky. But yeah, you can do whatever you like to do. This is what I decided to do with my list. But now, let's move on into the combo section. Welcome to the combo section. In the combo section, I'm going to share with you a few combos that I think are very important for you to know playing the Rose Dragon deck. Now, there are, of course, some particular different layers of things that you can do depending on the cards in your hand, but these are set combos that are based on specific cards in your hand, and if you draw into different cards or have other things, that is also good, and you may be able to extend. But for the first combo that we're going to go with, we're going to start with the cookie cutter combo of Red Rose Dragon and White Rose Dragon. We're going to start things off with the combo, which we're going to start right now, by normal summoning the Red Rose Dragon, and follow the special summon of White Rose Dragon with his own effect. Now, one thing I would say is that you can technically normal summon this and special summon this. However, the normal summon of this card is sometimes a problem because your opponent can throw a hand trap on you and essentially stop you, and then you just get, well, your turn can sometimes over. So I rather do normal summon, special summon, and that works perfectly. Then we're going to use these two for the synchro summon of a 7, which will be the Empress of Blossom. Chainlink 1 Red Rose, Chainlink 2 White Rose, because White Rose effect is less important than the Red Rose value, so we're going to send Mardell to our graveyard, summon the Rocks Rose directly from our deck as Frozen Rose, and then Rocks Rose effect will trigger to give us the Basil Rose Shoot, which is kind of how basically the chain links will work. You get this from your deck, you get this, and then you get this by its own effect. Then we're going to use the effect of Empress of Blossom because we have a level 5 or higher plant monster in our field, in our hand or graveyard. We're going to special summon the Mardell from our graveyard, and we're going to grab Rose Girl. We then go to take this and link summon into Crystron Hakifibrax. Chainlink Hakifibrax, Chainlink to Rose Girl. We're going to summon the Rose Girl, and Crystron Hakifibrax is going to summon Spore directly from our deck. Then we're going to take the Rose Girl and the Empress to the synchro summon of a 10. Could be Rowdy Rose Dragon if you don't have it, but like I said, I'm going to try to get Baroness for myself, so that's why I'm summoning Baroness, and Baroness is the superior card. Now we're going to activate the effect of Basil Rose Shoot, and we're going to summon from our graveyard the level 4 White Rose Dragon. And then we're going to synchro for 5 with these two into Garden Rose Maiden, which will grab from our deck to our hand the Black Garden. We're then going to immediately activate Black Garden and use Black Garden effect right from off the bat because we do have a monster with 1600 on the field, which is a plant monster and nothing else, and we have 2 targets in our graveyard, which can even be the Empress of Blossoms or Rocks Rose Dragon. Now, it depends really on the situation. Sometimes this card is better, and sometimes like this can be double Monster Reborn, of course, depending on the situation. Sometimes you just like fly into this and just use this as a combo piece, so this could be an option sometimes, and then this will just revive this immediately anyway. But in this particular situation, we want to revive the Rocks Rose because we need a monster that is not a plant. So we're going to use the effect of the Black Garden and revive the Rocks Rose. And then immediately activate Frozen Rose to tribute the Rocks Rose to search from your deck to your hand the Rose Fairy. Rose Fairy was added by a card effect, so we'll get to special summon her. And then we're going to use the effect of Spore in our graveyard finally by banishing the Rose Girl from our graveyard, turning it into a level 4. Then we're going to take the level 4 Spore and the level 3 Rose Fairy, and then we're going to synchro summon into Black Rose Moonlight Dragon as our second interruption. We're then going to end our turn after we're going to use Garden Rose Maiden effect to banish herself and summon the White Rose Dragon from our graveyard one last time, and then we pass the turn for our opponent. Now you're probably asking yourself, why do we need this card from our side of the field? We probably just want an additional, maybe a recovery for next turn. Well, we still have Crystron Hakifibrax. We can use his effect to banish himself during the opponent's turn to summon Garden Rose Flora, which is a level 5. Level 5 and a level 4 equal together a Shenshin, which is great. And then, due to the effect of White Rose Dragon, we can send directly from our deck to the graveyard the World Carrot Weight Champion as a nice follow-up. And Shenshin doesn't prevent you from sending cards from the deck to the graveyard. It's just only cards that's sending from the field to the graveyard are getting banished. I also think from the hand, I just don't really remember the text right now, but cards that send from the deck to the graveyard are not get banished, so you get the nice advantage. And that's pretty much does it for the combo. That does it for combo number 1, and the combo that need the most explanation. Let's move now into combo number 2. Alright, so for the second combo, we're still going to use Red Rose Dragon as one of our starters. However, instead of White Rose Dragon, we're going to instead use an extender called Caliga Crow to show you that sometimes even going to level 5 synchros is really, really good. So let's get started. So starting things off, we're going to normal summon the Red Rose Dragon, followed up because we control a Dark by Caliga Crow, and then we're going to use these two and synchro summon into Garden Rose Maiden. Chainlink 1 Red Rose, Chainlink 2 Garden Rose Maiden, because Garden Rose Maiden has the less value, so Chainlink 2 will add us the Black Garden, Chainlink 1 will summon the Rocks, and then we're going to add to our hand the Frozen Rose. And then during this card effect, we're also going to add to our hand the Basil Rose Shoot, which is pretty cool. Now, what we're going to do is that we're going to take these two cards, Synchro Summon into Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, and then we're going to use the Basil Rose Shoot immediately to revive one of our tuners directly from our graveyard. Now, one thing that is specifically kind of weird is going to happen right now, which some people are probably going to ask themselves what you're doing, but it's actually really important to do. We're going to activate the Black Garden, and then we're going to use these two to link summon into Crystron Haki Fibrax. Now, you're probably wondering to yourself, like I said, why do I get rid of the Crystal Wing? But don't worry, you have a way to bring it back. So Chainlink 1, the Black Garden, which we're going to use this die as the token to give to our opponent a monster with 800 attack, which will be after the Chainlink, of course, but basically this is going to be the representations that we have given our opponent a monster, basically like, the tokens, so these are going to be the tokens for that. So Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, the Chainlink 2 is going to summon directly from our deck any tuner level 3 that is not a plant, so for this particular combo we're going to use the Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, and then the Chainlink will be that you give your opponent this, and then this will once again give you another token. Then what we're going to do is that we're going to use the Black Garden effect, because we do have two monsters that are equal 1600 on our opponent's side of the field, and they're a plant. We're going to send it to the graveyard and get rid of two of the tokens there, and then summon directly from our graveyard the Garden Rose Maiden. Next, we're going to take Garden Rose Maiden and the Random Tuner level 3 and make the Dracu Berserker of the Tenyi, or whatever level 8 that you want to. And then you're going to use the effect of Garden Rose Maiden, banish herself, and target our Synchro monster in our graveyard, the Synchro Dragon, and summon back the Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. And pass the turn to your opponent. Now, of course, you still have this card in your hand, which, if you want to or able to, you can use it, but in this particular situation, we weren't really needing this card, so we could use this as like an extender for a later turn. So sometimes you just have this as a card in your hand. It's not always the most useful thing, but you could set it to your side of the field if you feel like it, and maybe use it kind of like do some particular stuff. I don't know. So I sometimes like to set this to my side of the field. Sometimes I don't think it's really that useful, but in this particular case, let's leave it in the hand. And then during the opponent's turn, obviously, this is going to banish itself. You summon the Formula Synchron. Formula Synchron will give you the free draw that you get, so you already replenished your hand. And then you take one of these level 8 Synchros, depending on the situation, and you summon either a Baroness or a Rowdy Rose Dragon. Just because I'm lazy in editing, I just brought this one specifically. Of course, this can also be a satellite, depending on the situation, but this is basically how the combo is going to work. And like I said, once again, this is a 2 cards, 3 interruption combo, which is really cool. And in this particular case, you even have 5 cards in your hand for later turn, with an additional card that you might draw on a later turn as well, so you can extend even forward, or just have a little bit better chance in the grind game. But that's pretty much does it for combo number 2. Let's move on into combo number 3. Alright, so for combo number 3 to combo number 5, we're going to start to use Orpheus Scorpio as one of our starter card, and the other card is going to be the discard that is basically going to support it. It has to be a specific discard, But in this particular discard, we're going to actually use Lawnfire Blossom as our specific discard to show you the combo. So let's get started. Starting things off, we're going to normal summon Orpheus Scorpio, use the effect to dump the Lawnfire Blossom, and summon directly from your deck the Darla Antonia Cobra, and use the effect to either search Ready Fusion or Instant Fusion from your deck to your hand. We're then going to link these two off into Cross Sheep. Cross Sheep, we then activate Ready Fusion to summon directly from our extra deck the Sea Monster Theseus because we need a tuner. And then Cross Sheep effect will trigger, giving you the Lawnfire Blossom from our graveyard. Then we're going to use these two, link these two off into Crystron halq Fibrax, and then halq Fibrax effect will give you the Red Rose Dragon. Now we can't really have any card in our extra deck that is a level 6 plant, so instead we're going to tribute this by its own effect and summon Carrot Weight Champion, and then synchro these two off, specifically this time into not Empress because we don't really have the point to, but instead we're going to summon Black Rose Dragon as our other option. So, now that this gets summoned, we're going to do the normal thing of, well, summoning the Rocks Rose, grabbing the Frozen Rose, and then use discard effect to grab the Basil Rose Shoot. Now, what we're going to do is that we're going to use the effect of Frozen Rose to basically tribute any of these two. So we're going to tribute this one specifically this time to get from our deck directly to our hand the Spore, and then use the Carrot Weight Champion in our graveyard to send the Spore to the graveyard, summoning the Carrot Weight Champion to our side of the field. We're then going to use Carrot Weight Champion effect, banishing the Orpheus Scorpio or any of your level 3 plants, and summoning back the Spore. And then we're going to take Spore and the Carrot Weight Champion into Berserker of the Tenyi. We're then going to use finally Basil Rose Shoot effect, and we're going to summon one of your level 3 tuners, which will be this one for this particular situation, and then take these two and synchro summon into a Baroness de Fleur in this particular combo situation. And then pass the turn for our opponent. And then during the opponent's turn, you're going to use the halq Fibrax effect to basically summon the Formula Synchron, get a free draw, and then you can take this and summon a Rowdy Rose Dragon, or a Satellite Warrior, or whatever specifically you have to the situation. Because if you don't have Baroness, like I said a million times, you can just make Rowdy Rose, and this will be the follow-up with the Satellite Warrior, which is also pretty nice. But that does it for combo number 3. Let's move on into combo number 4. So for the fourth combo, like I said in the third combo, we're going to follow once again with an Orpheus Scorpio combo. However, the discard this time is going to be White Rose Dragon, which is actually really important. If you have this particular discard, it's actually kind of a very nice end board. So let's get started. Just like always, we're going to normal summon the Orpheus Scorpio. We dump right now the White Rose Dragon, and we're going to summon the Darla Antonia Cobra, use this effect to add the Ready Fusion from our deck to our hand. We're then going to link these two off into not Crystron halq Fibrax, my apologies, it's got confused. We're going to summon the Cross Sheep, and then activate Ready Fusion, just like the last combo, and because we don't have a tuner, we're going to summon the Sea Monster of Theseus directly from our graveyard. We're then going to use the effect of the Cross Sheep, summoning the White Rose Dragon from our graveyard because we can use it. We're then going to link these two off, now into the Crystron halq Fibrax, and Crystron halq Fibrax will give us the Red Rose Dragon. We're then going to synchro these two off into the level 7 Empress, and then we're going to do the same song and dance as combo number 1, which is dumping this for the Chainlink 2, and then Chainlink 1 will summon this, we'll grab this, and then do the effect of him. We're going to grab, or it, we're going to grab the effect, the Basil Rose Shoot. Then, what we're going to do is that we're going to use the effect of this, summon back the Mordell. Mordell effect will trigger, giving us the Rose Girl to our hand. We're then going to synchro summon with these two into a Baroness de Fleur, which, like I said, this can be a Rowdy Rose Dragon, but I decided to go with Baroness. And then we're going to use Rose Girl effect to special summon itself because a plant was sent to the graveyard. We're then going to use the effect of Basil Rose Shoot, revive the level 4 White Rose Dragon, and then take these two and synchro summon into a Black Rose Moonlight Dragon. And then you have a particular interesting end board that you can decide to do particular things about. Now, in this particular situation, because if you really want to and you want to dig deeper into your deck, you can technically tribute the Mardell with this card if you don't want to save it, and just get 2 cards deeper into your deck, maybe draw into additional hand traps, interruptions, whatever, if you want to decide to go that route. Or you can just leave it in your hand as a follow-up for next turn, or whatever you want to, or even set it and then just you leave it as a follow-up for something specific if you really want to, so that's up to you. However, during the opponent's turn, regardless of the situation, we're going to have the Formula Synchron, and then we turn this, after we use its effect, into a Shenshin, and giving us another free draw. So, for the point of everything, you're basically going to get 3 draws and a discard if you decide to use this on the Mardell. So that's specifically what you get, like you're getting 2 additional fresh new cards, because you're getting a draw and a discard, and then with the effective formula, you're getting another card directly from your hand. So it's really dependent on what you want specifically to do, but yeah, that's pretty much does it for combo number 2. And combo number 4, let's jump right in the final combo, which is combo number 5. So for our 5th and final combo, once again, we're going to use Orpheus Scorpio as our starter card. However, instead of White Rose Dragon as our discard, we're going to use this time the Rox Rose Dragon. Now, in this particular situation, the end board is kind of going to be the same. However, there are some particular changes that are important enough to mention, because this is kind of like opening up different kinds of things that you can do. But now let's get started. So to start things off, as usual, you normal summon the Orpheus Scorpio. We discard the Rox Rose, and then we summon the Darling Tonia Cobra, which will add the Ready Fusion. We're then going to link these two off into the Cross Sheep, and because specifically we already have a tuner in our graveyard, we're going to use Ready Fusion effect instead to summon the Rare Fish or any other level 4 normal fusion monster. Then that will trigger the effect of Cross Sheep to summon the Rox Rose Dragon, and that will give us the Basil Rose Shoot already from our deck to our hand. Then we're going to link these two off into Crystron Hagifibrax, and then we're going to use Crystron Hagifibrax effect, summon from your deck the Red Rose Dragon. These two together are level 7, and we're going to synchro them off into the Empress of Blossom. And then we're going to use the Red Rose Dragon effect, summon directly from your deck the White Rose, and then we're going to use the effect to grab the Frozen Rose from your deck to your hand. Now we're going to activate the Basil Rose Shoot right now, and summon the Red Rose Dragon. And then we're going to use these two, and synchro summon into Black Rose Moonlight Dragon. Now, in the effect of White Rose Dragon, unlike the Red Rose Dragon, it says that if this card is sent to a synchro material, you can send 1 level 4 or higher plant monster to your graveyard. It doesn't have to be specifically a plant synchro or a Black Rose Dragon synchro monster, which is like Black Rose Dragon or a plant synchro monster. So, specifically in this particular case, I can summon this and it was sent to a synchro material, so we can send directly from our deck the Mardell. We're then going to use the effect of Empress, summoning back the Mardell from our graveyard, and then grab the Rose Girl. Now in this particular situation, that's why I mentioned there is a change. In this particular situation, you have to use the Frozen Rose to send this to the graveyard, because otherwise you can summon the Rose Girl from your hand. So we're going to use this effect, tribute the Mardell, or should I say send the Mardell to the graveyard, trigger the Rose Girl effect to special summon herself, and then during the end phase, you're going to basically draw 2 cards and discard 1. Then we're going to take these 2, and just like before, we're going to synchro summon into Baroness or Rowdy Rose Dragon, depending on the situation. And then during the end phase, we're going to get draw 2, discard 1, which is great, so you can get additional more hand traps. And then during the opponent's turn, Formula Synchron into Shenshin after you use this card effect, and then you're also getting another free draw, which help you replenish your hand. But that does it for the 5th combo, and does it for all the combos. Hope you enjoyed, hope they helped you kind of a little bit understand the deck. But now, let's move on into the next deck choices. So, for the last thing we're going to talk about for this very, very long video, let's wrap up with the next deck choices. And for the next deck choices, we have the 3 returning options from last week, which are going to be Vendrid, Malvos, and Cubics. And then for the 4th and final option, I decided to throw once again in the Unchained archetype because I feel Unchained is really cool and I just want to do this once again. I like to do Unchained for almost every single format because I just enjoy the deck quite a bit and I want to see if I can able to invent better extra deck and better stuff every single time. But these are the 4 options that you get to choose if you want to. Specifically, I know that there is like a lot of asking for Cubics, but we'll see how that will go for next week. For now, we're going to have these after the deck that I promised, which next one is going to be Salomon Greats. So we're going to do that one after that for this choice. And then it will be Generator, and then we'll go back for normal deck decisions as usual. But that's pretty much does it for the video itself. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, subscribe once again if you do. Remember, creativity is the key in this game. Have a good day, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.